My mentor, Bob Proctor, said that a failure is not a failure unless you quit. So in this mini workshop, I'm going to share with you the 3 factors that will always get in your way when you're going to take on a big challenge. It doesn't matter how big or small the goal is, these 3 things always show up. So you're going to absolutely love this. So if you remember from my last mini workshop, I talked about this, the emotional cycle of change, the ECOC. This ECOC is always going to get in your way. You're always going to run into the valley of despair, and you're always going to have to develop some velocity to get out. You're going to have to get some strength, develop some strength, have some motivation to get out of this valley. And once you are climbing out of the valley, you're going to be climbing this mountain. You need some escape velocity. You're going to be climbing this mountain, and unless you have some motivation and some accountability, you are going to quit. And there are 3 things that are going to get in your way, and I'm going to talk about those things right now. So just know this, if you're going to try for high lifetime value things in your life, likely they have to do with your family, with your children. You want to leave a legacy. You want them to remember you for being a great parent, a great leader, somebody who's respectful, honorable, whatever it is, whatever your values are, then you need to have some escape velocity so that you can get out of this valley of despair that I talked about over here. Because once you're in this valley, it's very difficult to get out. You can get stuck in there and then go right back to where you came from. Why? Because it's too hard. You can't handle it. It's too hard to handle. You run into 3 things, 3 factors, which I'm going to talk about right now. So these 3 factors that you will run into are, we'll start off with the first one, are considerations. So considerations can show up in many different shapes and forms. And just remember, these 3 factors are normal. You just have to learn how to handle them. Jack Canfield, in his book, The Success Principles, taught this exactly. And you need to understand that considerations are going to come up. And when considerations come up, they could be, things that you're making decisions about. Who do you hire? What investments do you make? What do you buy? What systems? What sources? What steps do you take? What's the first step? There's a lot of considerations. And just as a footnote, my first step is to always take the last step. So I go to the end, and let's say I'm selling a product or service, I will go inside of my system, my CRM, and I will just create a buy button. I'll put the dollar amount in and create a buy button. I'll create that channel, that doorway, that pathway for people to purchase. Why not? Do the last thing. It's easy. It just gets me started. I just go and do the last thing and I start building it backwards. So you're always going to run into considerations. You might even be trying to do something that's really challenging. Like maybe you want to run a marathon, or you want to do something that's really outside of your comfort zone. So you're going to have considerations. You're going to ask and wonder whether this is worth the investment or not. And then you're also going to wonder what other people will think, because we're always considering what other people are going to think, because oftentimes we can't handle what they're going to say to us. You might say, well, I'm going to start a new business, and you get your parents talking to you and telling you, you really want to do that? This is going to be really hard. It's really difficult. They're going to talk you out of it. They're going to be that informed pessimism, that in the valley, they're going to take you into the valley. They start getting pessimistic. So you're going to run into considerations every single time. And it's all about whether you can handle something or not. That's what's coming up. So the second factor that you're going to run into is fears. So fears are emotions. Considerations are external. Fears are internal. Many of them aren't real. We don't have many fears today. We don't live in environments where cougars and bears and jaguars are chasing us. Some of us do, but most of us not. And so we're very secure in our environment. The only threats that we have are the people that we're interacting with out in the world. Perhaps, driving or walking down the street or riding a bike, there's potential injuries that can happen or accidents that can happen. So we have fears about that. So fears are also going to get in your way. Remember, this is normal. And a fear is just a fear of the future. Fear of something you fear that you might not be able to handle. So once again, let's say you're starting a new business or you are introducing a new product or service to the marketplace, and you're wondering whether it's going to work. So you need to validate it. Well, you might have fears about validating. Why? Because you'll get rejected. You're likely going to get rejected a lot. Colonel Sanders got rejected hundreds of times. Elon Musk, hundreds of times. Every single individual that you can look at got rejected hundreds, maybe thousands of times. If we wouldn't have light bulbs right now to see, if we didn't have somebody like Edison who did thousands of tests, maybe tens of thousands of tests, until he figured out what we needed to put in that glass bulb to make it light up. So again, fears are going to get in your way. Considerations and fears. Fears are internal. Considerations are external, right? Those are things on the external. Fears are internal. Fears are things that are not intangible. They're not real. They're not here yet. So we're just making them up. And it's because we don't think we can handle it. So that's why we get stopped and we let that get in our way. So the last thing that can get in your way are roadblocks. Roadblocks are things that are, again, external. So these are things that can come up and show up, maybe even internal, but let's focus on the external. So an external roadblock could be something like your car breaking down, a flat tire, maybe an appliance like a washer or clothes washer breaking down. I've seen that before. So if things break down, then you're stuck. You need to fix it. You need to stop what you're doing and solve it. So a roadblock can come in the way. And you also can have internal roadblocks. You can have conflicts with yourself. So perhaps you want to do something, but you're fearful of, you're running into fear and you're creating an internal roadblock that, you feel like you can't handle it, or it's going to be too hard, or maybe you just don't want to do it. You're like, why should I put all this effort in for something that, might provide me more time and freedom in the future, but not now. And, I live in an immediate return environment. We all do. We live in an immediate return environment. And now we're switching to a long-term environment. We're saying, hey, for most people, they have jobs. Work for, 40, 50, 60 years, and then you can enjoy your life. Then you can take the money that you saved and enjoy yourself. Meanwhile, your body has worn down and gotten older. But, so again, fears, considerations, and roadblocks are going to come up. And the roadblocks show up almost always. It could be something that's completely out of your control, or it could be something that you're creating in yourself, like a conflict that you're creating in your own mind. Oftentimes we create our own roadblocks. We talk ourselves out of things because we fear the consequences, and then we start considering, what are my other options? So these are the three things that are going to come up every single time. Every time that you're trying to get out of this valley, every time that you're trying to climb up here where you're going to have success, every single time that you go and try to do this, you are going to be climbing a steep mountain, and you're going to have to keep your focus, your motivation on the high lifetime value things, the things that you really want, the things that motivate you, things that pull on your heartstrings. If you don't have three things, if you don't have three things going for you, if you don't have your heart, your head, and your hands working for you. Sorry, I'll do that again. So if you don't have your heart, head, and hands working for you, your hands are the last thing, like, you're basically what you do, take action. If you don't have these working for you, then you're going to run into problems. Your heart here is for motivation. Your head is for mindset. Hands is for taking action. You need to have a method and a system for doing that. And if you don't, then you're going to run into these considerations, fears, and roadblocks. You will run into them. They are normal. And in fact, if you do not see one of these things happening, then know this: your goal is not big enough. Your desire is not big enough. Your challenge is not big enough. These are common factors that show up. If you want to have courage, you have to decide, am I going to walk through the forest or walk along the well-lit street? When I was a kid, I chose the forest. Why? I hiked home with my hockey bag on my back because my father forgot to pick me up, and I decided that I didn't want to, take the longer route, but I had to muster up the courage and let my heart pound as I walked through this really dark forest. And, I did it, but it developed courage. That's the point. How are you going to develop something? You have to be challenged. You have to run into something These are the things that you are going to run into. These are the things that are going to show up every single time that you want to do something new and something uncomfortable. It's going to show up. These are normal. These are things that you need to be able to recognize and figure out how to handle. And when you start categorizing them, it makes it so much easier. You just say, oh, that was a roadblock. A roadblock showed up, and I see that. I got sick, and that's a roadblock. Why? Well, because I started fearing my potential outcome, my potential success, and that caused too much anxiety in me. So my body went and got sick, and I created my own roadblock. That's how it happens. So if you don't want to let these three things stop you and cause you to quit, then you just need to recognize them. Just remember them, jot them down, and just remember when you're running into situations, ask yourself, am I considering something here? Am I trying to make a decision? And am I running into some walls or some fears of some kind? What am I getting into? Am I in fear? Am I moving in fear or in faith? Because faith is the opposite of fear, and they're both illusions. So you get to choose. And then the third thing is a roadblock. Am I letting roadblocks get in my way? Am I going to let something stop me? I mean, if you were driving somewhere and you had to get there, let's say you're driving somebody who's pregnant and they're giving birth. Their water broke and they need to get to the hospital, and you have a flat tire. Well, if you have time, you're going to change that tire, but if you don't, you're going to call an Uber or something like that and get them to where they need to go. You're going to solve it. You're going to figure it out. You're not going to let that roadblock get in your way. Why? Because they need to be in a place where they can give birth, and it's important, it's significant. So you have to treat everything that you're doing, your goals, your desires, like this. Treat them like if you don't reach them, there's going to be a consequence. And if that consequence is so big that you are going to bust up the energy so that you can run through the courage, you can run through the fears, and you can just move through the roadblocks, you can get through these terror barriers, then you are going to achieve so much more, and you'll have so much more success, and you will feel better. And once you feel better, guess what? You have more courage and more confidence. You have more courage and more confidence, you can take steps and do further things. It's just how it works. For me, I had a lot of courage and confidence at a young age. I'm not sure if it was because I was in a car accident and almost died. I was in a coma, and I don't know if that shook me up and made me more courageous and more confident. But the bottom line is, my university friends didn't have enough courage and confidence to ask girls to dance, and I did. And often I would succeed, and they would stand there in awe. So you can develop this courage and confidence. You don't have to have a big accident or a big incident to develop courage and confidence. You just need to recognize what's getting in your way. These three things, right? These are three things that are getting in your way every single time. Just categorize them and recognize what they are for what they are, and know that you can handle them. And once you handle them, then you can move forward and make history, and you can make your challenges come true. Make your challenges small. Make them the size of a dot, just the size of a dot, and then make them come true. And then as you move forward, you get stronger and you get bigger, and you start building more things, and you feel really satisfied. Why? Because at the end of your life, you want to be able to look back and recognize the things that you did and appreciate what you did, and also be recognized for what you did. You want people to validate you all your life, but also you want to leave them with memories. You want to be remembered for being such a great person. So again, considerations, fears, and roadblocks, those are the things that get in your way all the time, and you can overcome them. And if you're running into some right now, just comment, send me a direct message, let me know what they are, and I'll give you resources that might be helpful. Otherwise, thanks for watching, and I'll see you on my next video. Bye.